High Counselor Vera stood at the crystalline observation deck of the celestial station, her iridescent scales shifting colors in the starlight. For 10,000 years, her species, the Luminar, had governed the known galaxy. They had mastered quantum mechanics while Earth's inhabitants were still discovering fire. Now, she watched with barely concealed disdain as the latest human vessel docked at her station. The ship's markings identified it as the TSV Horizon, Earth's newest diplomatic vessel. Its very presence here was an affront to tradition. Humans weren't supposed to achieve faster-than-light travel for at least another century. Yet here they were, breaking every prediction, defying every carefully calculated model. "High Counselor, Captain Helena Blackwood requests an immediate audience," announced First Secretary Zion, his translucent form shimming in the artificial gravity. "Let her wait," Vera replied, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "Humans must learn their place in the cosmic hierarchy." But Captain Blackwood didn't wait. The station's quantum alarms blared as unauthorized access was detected in the security protocols. Vera's inner membranes flickered with rage as the human captain strode into the chamber, her dark skin contrasting with the stark white of her uniform. "High Counselor," Helena's voice carried no apology, only urgency. "The Proxima colony is under attack by quantum raiders. Your protocols deny us the right to defend our own people. Hundreds will die while we wait for your bureaucracy to process our defense request." Vera's bioluminescent patterns flashed warning colors. "You dare bypass our security systems? This station has maintained peace for thousands of years through strict adherence to protocol." "Peace for whom?" Helena challenged, projecting a hologram showing real-time footage of the attack. "Your protocols were written when humans couldn't leave their solar system. Times change. We change. And if you won't help us defend our people, we'll do it ourselves." The chamber fell silent as other alien diplomats turned to watch the confrontation. Vera had faced countless species, but something about this human's determination unsettled her. There was no fear, no reverence for the ancient power before her. "You speak of change." Vera's voice carried dangerous undertones. "Yet you don't understand the chaos it brings. We created these protocols to prevent the very violence you now face." Helena stepped forward, her green eyes meeting Vera's luminescent gaze. "Those protocols are failing. The raiders have adapted. Either help us evolve your systems or watch as we forge our own path. But we will not let our people die to preserve your antiquated rules." In that moment, Vera felt something she hadn't experienced in centuries: doubt. The human's words carried truth she couldn't dismiss, yet accepting it meant questioning 10,000 years of certainty. As alarms continued to blare and reports of the attack flooded in, she faced a choice that would reshape the galaxy's future. The Quantum Raiders' ships appeared as dark tears against the purple nebula surrounding Proxima Colony. Their energy signatures pulsed with forbidden technology, weapons that should have been impossible according to the Luminar's understanding of physics. Yet there they were, defying both science and protocol. High Counselor Vera watched the tactical display with growing unease. Captain Helena Blackwood had bypassed 3 more security protocols in the time they'd spent arguing, her ship's crew already coordinating with the colonial defense forces. The human's efficiency was both impressive and disturbing. "Your actions border on treason." Vera's scales shifted to deep crimson. "The Council will not forget this defiance." Helena's hands flew across the holographic interface she'd established. "With respect, High Counselor, survival trumps politics. These raiders are using quantum phase technology that your records claimed was theoretical." "Impossible," First Secretary Zion interjected. "The equations are wrong," Helena completed, projecting a new set of calculations. "Human quantum theorists discovered the flaw in your models 6 months ago. We tried to submit the findings through proper channels, but they're still stuck in review. Vera's inner membranes pulsed with suppressed emotion as she studied the data. In all her centuries of rule, no species had ever dared to suggest the Luminar's scientific foundations were flawed. Yet the evidence hovered before her, undeniable in its clarity. The tactical display erupted with new alerts. The raiders had breached the colony's outer defenses, their phase-shifted weapons cutting through shields designed to Luminar specifications. Thousands of human lives hung in the balance, their fate resting on Vera's next decision. "The horizon is moving to engage," Helena announced, not asking permission. "Our quantum shields have been modified based on the new equations. We can stop them." "You'll be destroyed," Vera found herself saying, genuine concern coloring her voice. Helena's lips curved in a slight smile. "Maybe, but humans have a saying, better to die standing than live on our knees. We're not asking you to save us, High Counselor. We're asking you to let us save ourselves." The words struck something deep within Vera's ancient consciousness. She saw echoes of her own species' past, before protocols and rigid hierarchies had stripped them of their capacity to adapt. When had preservation of order become more important than preservation of life? "First Secretary," Vera's voice carried a new tone, one that made Zion's translucent form flicker in surprise. "Execute Emergency Protocol Omega-7. "But High Counselor, that hasn't been used in." "Now." The station's quantum core hummed to life, ancient systems awakening from millennia of dormancy. Screens throughout the chamber displayed access codes and tactical data that had been sealed away since the last Great War. "Captain Blackwood," Vera turned to Helena, her scales now pulsing with brilliant purpose. "Your equations are correct, but incomplete. The Luminar faced similar raiders 8,000 years ago. We sealed away the knowledge of how to defeat them, believing it too dangerous for younger races. Perhaps that was our greatest mistake." Helena's eyes widened as the tactical data streamed to her ship's computers. "This is incredible. With this, we could." "Save your people," Vera finished. "But remember this moment, Captain. Sometimes the greatest wisdom lies not in holding onto power, but in knowing when to share it." The Horizon's engines flared to life, its hull now glowing with the combined power of human innovation and ancient Luminar knowledge. As the ship moved to engage the raiders, Vera realized she was witnessing more than just a battle. She was watching the birth of a new era in galactic history, one where the old guard and the new would either learn to coexist or fall together. The battle above Proxima Colony had ended, but its implications echoed through the halls of the Celestial Station. The Horizon hung in space, its hull bearing the scars of victory, while the Quantum Raiders' debris scattered across the sector served as a testament to the power of combined human and Luminar technology. High Counselor Vera faced the assembled Galactic Council, her scales now a muted silver of contemplation. Representatives from 30 ancient species filled the chamber, their collective anger manifesting in a cacophony of translated protests. "You have broken laws older than some civilizations," thundered Ambassador Crax of the Silicon Consciousness, his crystalline form vibrating with indignation. "Sharing Omega-level technology with humans, they're barely space-capable." Captain Helena Blackwood stood beside Vera, her white uniform still bearing traces of smoke from when her bridge had caught fire during the battle. She remained silent, but her posture radiated the quiet confidence that had so unsettled Vera during their first meeting. "The laws were made to protect life," Vera responded, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Today, they nearly caused its extinction." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing the battle from multiple angles. The Quantum Raiders' ships phased through traditional defenses like ghosts, only to be caught and destroyed by the Horizon's modified systems. The efficiency was undeniable. "Impossible," whispered Lord Navigator Tull, his 8 eyes blinking in sequence. Their targeting algorithms would require computational power beyond their development stage. Wrong, Helena spoke for the first time, her voice steady. We didn't use targeting algorithms. My helmsman, Lieutenant Park, flew manually. Humans call it intuition. The chamber erupted again, but Vera raised a hand for silence. She gestured, and new holograms appeared, tactical data from the battle. Observe! The raiders' attack patterns followed mathematical perfection. Every move calculated, every strategy pulled from ancient databases. But the Horizon's responses were unpredictable, creative. Chaos, spat Ambassador Krax. You praise them for introducing chaos into combat. I praise them for surviving. Vera's scales flickered with intensity. While we sat here, bound by tradition, humans developed quantum theories we believed impossible. They adapted our technology in ways we never imagined. And when faced with total destruction, they chose to fight rather than submit. Helena stepped forward, addressing the council directly. We don't want to disturb your order, but we won't be bound by rules that endanger our people. The raiders are still out there, growing stronger. They've learned to corrupt your perfect systems precisely because they're perfect predictable. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Vera moved to stand shoulder to shoulder with Helena, a gesture that sent ripples of shock through the assembled representatives. 8,000 years ago, Vera continued, we sealed away the knowledge of quantum warfare, believing the galaxy wasn't ready. We created protocols, hierarchies, perfect systems to maintain perfect peace. But perfection, I now realize, is stagnation. She turned to face the council, her scales now pulsing with colors that hadn't been seen in millennia, the ancient patterns of change and evolution. The humans don't just break our rules. They show us why those rules need to change. The raiders exploit our predictability, but they cannot predict what they don't understand. And they don't understand humanity. Ambassador Krax's crystalline form darkened. You would have us dismantle thousands of years of order. No, Helena answered before Vera could speak. We would help you evolve it, combine your wisdom with our adaptability. The raiders aren't just humanity's enemy, they threaten everything you've built. But they expect you to respond with the same protocols you've used for millennia. They don't expect us to work together. Vera felt a sensation she hadn't experienced in centuries' excitement. The human was right. The raiders' strength came from knowing their enemy's responses. But now, for the first time in 8,000 years, the galaxy's response would be anything but predictable. Deep within the Celestial Station's quantum core, High Counselor Vera and Captain Helena Blackwood studied attack patterns stretching across 8 millennia. The holographic display painted their faces in shades of blue as data streams connected seemingly random raider attacks into a disturbing pattern. There, Helena pointed, her finger tracing a line through space-time. The raiders aren't just attacking colonies. They're probing defenses, testing responses. Each attack builds on data gathered from the last. Vera's scales shifted to deep indigo, a color of profound concern. They're learning, not just about humanity, but about every species' defensive protocols. She manipulated the display, expanding it to show the entire known galaxy. We thought sealing away our quantum warfare knowledge would prevent its misuse. Instead, you created a vacuum, Helena finished. And nature abhors a vacuum. The raiders didn't steal your old technology. They developed their own version without the ethical constraints you built into yours. The chamber's lighting dimmed as First Secretary Zion materialized, his translucent form more agitated than usual. High Counselor, we've detected anomalies in the quantum network. Data packets disappearing, reappearing altered. Impossible, Vera whispered, but her scales betrayed her uncertainty. The network's encryption hasn't been breached in. Never, Helena interrupted, already moving to a console. It's never been breached because no one ever thought to try what we're seeing here. Her fingers flew across the interface, pulling up network diagnostics. Look at the pattern. The data isn't being stolen or corrupted, it's being copied. Perfectly. Vera felt her ancient heart skip a beat. They're creating a parallel network, a shadow of our own. Worse, Helena's voice grew grim. They're using your own protocols against you. Every security measure, every encrypted channel, they're all based on mathematical constants. Perfect, unbreakable patterns. She paused, looking up at Vera. Unless you know their patterns in the first place. The implications hit Vera like a quantum surge. For millennia, the Luminar had prided themselves on creating perfect systems, unbreakable codes, protocols that would stand the test of time. But in doing so, they'd created something else: predictability on a galactic scale. The raids aren't random attacks, Vera said slowly, her scales shifting to colors unseen in eons. They're test runs, each one gathering more data, learning how we'll respond, how all species bound by our protocols will respond. Helena nodded grimly. And now they have enough data to predict exactly how every major civilization will react in any given scenario. Every defense, every countermeasure, every evacuation protocol, all mapped out like a cosmic chess game where they know every possible move. First Secretary Zion's form flickered anxiously. But the human colonies don't follow standard protocols. Their responses have been chaotic. Exactly, Helena's eyes lit up. We're the variable they can't predict. Every human commander responds differently, based on instinct, experience, even emotion. We're the flaw in their perfect calculation. Vera moved to the central console, her ancient fingers hovering over controls that hadn't been touched in millennia. Then perhaps it's time we introduced more chaos into the equation. She turned to Helena, her scales now pulsing with purpose. Captain, how would your people respond to receiving full access to Luminar quantum technology? Helena's eyebrows rose. Without restrictions, the innovations we could create, but the Council would never approve. The Council, Vera's voice carried the weight of ages, built its power on perfect order. But order, I'm beginning to understand, isn't always the answer. She activated the station's emergency broadcast system, her voice carrying to every corner of known space. This is High Counselor Vera. As of this moment, all Omega-level technology restrictions are temporarily suspended. The galaxy faces a threat born from our own perfection. To fight it, we must embrace imperfection. As alarms blared and protests flooded in from across the galaxy, Helena watched the ancient alien with new respect. They'll say you've gone mad. Perhaps, Vera agreed, her scales now shimmering with colors that hadn't been seen since the Luminar were young. But madness, by definition, is unpredictable. And right now, unpredictability may be our greatest weapon. The Celestial Station's observation deck had become a theater of organized chaos. Holographic displays showed hundreds of ships, human vessels retrofitted with Luminar technology, their energy signatures as unique as fingerprints. Each captain had adapted the ancient quantum systems differently, creating a defensive network that defied prediction. High Counselor Vera stood amid the chaos, her scales reflecting the multicolored lights of status reports and tactical displays. 3 days had passed since she'd released the Omega-level restrictions, and the galaxy had transformed more rapidly than even she had anticipated. The humans call it emergent behavior, Captain Helena Blackwood explained, studying a holographic representation of the new defense grid. Each ship operates independently, but together they create patterns too complex for any algorithm to predict. Lieutenant Park's voice came through the comms system, his ship executing maneuvers that should have been impossible. We've modified the quantum shields to resonate with our hull harmonics. The Raiders' phase weapons can't lock onto a target they can't predict. Vera watched as human ships danced through space in ways that made her ancient mind reel. They'd taken Luminar technology perfect, precise, mathematically pure, and turned it into something organic, almost alive. Your species continues to surprise me, Captain. We spent millennia perfecting these systems, and in 3 days you've broken them, Helena smiled. Not broken, enhanced. Evolution isn't about perfection, it's about adaptation. A warning klaxon cut through their conversation. First Secretary Zion materialized, his transparent form rippling with urgency. Multiple quantum signatures detected. The raiders are back, but the pattern is different. Larger. The tactical display shifted, showing a massive fleet emerging from quantum space. Their ships were darker than before, as if they'd absorbed the very void between stars. The sight sent a chill through Vera's ancient body. They've adapted too, she whispered. Helena was already moving, her fingers dancing across control interfaces. All ships implement randomization protocols. Don't establish any pattern they can lock onto. The human fleet responded instantly, breaking into smaller groups, each moving with controlled chaos. Vera watched in fascination as traditional battle formations dissolved into what appeared to be complete disorder. Your people trust their instincts over computers, she observed. We trust both, Helena corrected, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The computers handle the quantum mechanics, but the strategy, she grinned, that's pure human intuition. The raiders struck first, their weapons tearing holes in reality itself. But where before they had faced predictable, programmed responses, now they encountered something else entirely. Human ships spun and dove in patterns that defied mathematical analysis, their modified quantum shields flickering with impossible frequencies. They can't predict what we'll do, Helena explained, because we don't know ourselves until we do it. Vera felt something stir in her ancient soul, a memory of when her own species had been young, before they'd become obsessed with perfection. Perhaps that is what we lost in our quest for perfect order, the ability to surprise ourselves. The battle unfolded like a dance of chaos and order. The raiders' attacks, based on perfect predictions and mathematical models, repeatedly failed to connect with targets that refused to follow any discernible pattern. Human ships wove between their blasts, retaliating with weapons that combined luminar precision with unpredictable targeting. Look, Helena pointed to a new display. They're trying to analyze our attack patterns, but there are no patterns to analyze, Vera finished, her scales shifting to colors of wonder. Every response is unique, every strategy improvised. The raider fleet's perfect formation began to break apart, their calculated attacks becoming increasingly desperate as they faced an enemy they couldn't predict. For the first time in their long campaign of conquest, they encountered a force that defied their fundamental understanding of how the universe should work. In that moment, watching human innovation merge with luminar technology to create something entirely new, Vera understood a truth that had eluded her species for millennia. True strength lay not in achieving perfection, but in the endless capacity to evolve.